Imagine going through your entire life believing that every single setback, every challenge, every unexpected collapse was not random, not cruel, not meaningless, but carefully positioned to shape you into someone stronger, clearer, and more grounded than you were before. Not as punishment, not as bad luck, but as preparation. Most people never allow themselves to think this way, because this idea carries responsibility, and responsibility is uncomfortable. It is far easier to believe that life happens to you than to accept that life is training you. Now, I know this might sound like another inspirational phrase, the kind you scroll past without stopping. But what if this is not motivation? What if this is instruction? What if this principle comes not from modern self-help, but from an ancient philosophy that survived empires, plagues, wars, and total collapse? Yes, Stoicism. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotion. It is not about becoming cold, distant, or detached from life. Stoicism is about mastery. Mastery of perception. Mastery of reaction. Mastery of self. The Stoics believed something radical. Life will never be fair, but it can always be meaningful. Pain will come. Loss will come. Chaos will arrive uninvited. But meaning remains available in how you respond. This is why Stoicism does not promise happiness. It promises clarity. It does not promise comfort. It promises strength. And strength, unlike comfort, compounds. Today we are not discussing Stoicism as history. We are not quoting philosophers for decoration. We are using Stoicism as a tool for surviving pressure, a tool for staying grounded when everything shakes, a tool for building an unbreakable inner core. Whether you are facing uncertainty about your future, silent exhaustion, professional pressure, or inner conflict that no one sees, Stoicism offers a rare gift: inner sovereignty. The Stoics taught that fulfillment does not come from changing circumstances. It comes from changing your relationship to them. And if this idea already resonates with you, pause for a moment, because this is not casual entertainment. This is training for the mind. If you are someone who values depth, discipline, and inner growth, make sure you stay until the end of this video. And if this kind of thinking strengthens you, supports you, or challenges you in the right way, consider subscribing. This channel exists for those who want stability in an unstable world. Now let's go deeper. The first Stoic principle is simple, but devastatingly powerful. Not everything is under your control, but your response always is. Epictetus, once a slave, taught that freedom begins in the mind. You may lose possessions, you may lose status, you may lose people, but if you lose control over your reaction, you lose everything. This is why Stoics trained themselves daily, not occasionally, not when motivated, daily. They trained how they interpreted events. They trained emotional restraint. They trained deliberate action. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at the time, wrote private reminders to himself. Not about victory, not about domination, but about humility, discipline, patience, and restraint. Imagine that, an emperor reminding himself to stay human. This tells us something crucial. External power does not guarantee inner stability, and this is where modern people struggle. We chase external solutions, money, recognition, validation, hoping they will calm the chaos inside. But Stoicism flips the equation. Order yourself first, then face the world. Most suffering does not come from reality itself. It comes from resistance to reality, from wishing things were different, from waiting for ideal conditions, from postponing responsibility. Stoicism teaches immediate engagement with what is, not resignation, engagement. And this leads us to the first uncomfortable truth. Many people are not held back by circumstances. They are held back by hesitation, by delay, by waiting. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting for confidence. Waiting for permission. The Stoics did not wait. They acted according to principle, not emotion. This is why Stoicism feels demanding. It removes excuses. And this is exactly why it works. If this perspective already challenges how you think, that's a good sign. Growth always begins with discomfort. Stay with me. The next part will confront the question that changes everything. Why not? And if you want to continue strengthening your inner world, training your discipline, and developing calm under pressure, subscribe. This is only the beginning. There is a moment in every life that almost no one talks about. It is quiet, invisible, and yet it decides everything. It is the moment you realize that no one is coming. No rescue, no perfect timing, no external signal that says, "Now you're ready." Most people spend their entire lives waiting for that signal, waiting for clarity, waiting for confidence, waiting for motivation. The Stoics saw this clearly centuries ago. They understood that waiting is not neutral. Waiting is a decision. Every day you delay acting in alignment with your highest capacity, you are actively choosing stagnation. Not because you are weak, but because hesitation feels safer than responsibility. Epictetus said something brutally honest. It is not events that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Think about that. Not failure, not rejection, not uncertainty, but the meaning you attach to them. Most people interpret difficulty as a warning sign. The Stoic interprets difficulty as a training signal. And this shift, this single mental pivot, changes how you move through the world. Because once you stop waiting for conditions to improve, you start improving yourself within the conditions. This is where real power begins. Not loud power, not dominance, but inner authority. The authority to decide who you are going to be, regardless of circumstances. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you always have the option to have no opinion about certain things, meaning you do not need to emotionally react to everything. This is not suppression, this is selection. You choose what deserves your energy. Modern life overwhelms people not because it is hard, but because it is unfiltered. Every message, every comment, every comparison. The Stoic filters reality through principle. Ask yourself this honestly. How much of your energy is spent reacting instead of directing? Reaction feels automatic. Direction requires effort. And effort is where most people turn back. But here is the truth they avoid. The gap between where you are and where you want to be was not created by lack of talent. It was created by lack of consistent action. Not dramatic action, not heroic action. Daily, disciplined action. This is where the Stoics were uncompromising. They did not romanticize potential. They respected execution. Seneca warned that while we wait for life, life passes. And yet, waiting has become the default strategy of the modern mind. We wait to feel confident. We wait to feel inspired. We wait to feel less afraid. But Stoicism teaches something uncomfortable. You act before confidence. You act despite fear. You act without certainty. Because confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It is the result of it. This is why the Stoics emphasized duty over emotion. Duty is stable. Emotion is not. Emotion fluctuates with sleep, stress, and circumstance. Duty remains. When you decide to act according to duty, to your values, your principles, your long-term vision, you stop negotiating with weakness. And yes, weakness will protest. It will tell you to slow down, to wait, to be patient in the wrong way. Stoicism makes a clear distinction. There is patience rooted in wisdom, and there is patience rooted in avoidance. One builds strength, the other delays growth. Most people confuse the two. They call fear being realistic. They call hesitation being cautious. They call comfort self-care. The Stoics would ask one question: does this move you closer to virtue or further from it? Virtue, in Stoic terms, is not morality in a religious sense. It is excellence of character, courage, discipline, justice, wisdom. Every decision either trains these qualities or weakens them. There is no neutral ground, and this is why Stoicism feels demanding. It removes the illusion of neutrality. You are always becoming something. The question is, what? Acting as if you are the best does not mean arrogance. It means responsibility. It means you stop asking, "What do I feel like doing?" and start asking, "What does my highest standard require?" This shift is subtle, but life-altering, because standards shape behavior. Behavior shapes identity. Identity shapes destiny. Most people try to change their destiny without changing their standards. The Stoic does the opposite. When you raise your standards, discomfort appears immediately. This is not a sign of failure. It is evidence of alignment, because comfort is compatible with stagnation. Growth is not. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that difficulty is not a reason to retreat. It is a reason to practice virtue more intensely. When tired, practice discipline. When criticized, practice restraint. When uncertain, practice clarity. This is how character is forged, not in ideal conditions, but in resistance. The Stoics even practiced voluntary discomfort, cold, hunger, simplicity, not as punishment, but as training. They wanted to remind themselves that they were stronger than convenience. Modern life numbs this strength. We optimize everything for ease, then wonder why we feel weak. Stoicism restores friction, intentionally. And through friction, strength returns. If this way of thinking resonates with you, pause again. Because this is not content you consume casually. This is a framework you live. If you want to continue training your mind, strengthening your discipline, and building calm that cannot be taken from you, subscribe to this channel. What comes next goes even deeper. In the next part, we will confront fear itself. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of becoming visible. And we will dismantle it, Stoic style. Fear is the most misunderstood force in the human mind. Most people think fear is the enemy. The Stoics thought fear was a signal, not a command, not a truth, a signal. Fear shows you exactly where growth is required. But here is the problem. Most people obey fear without questioning it. They treat it like an authority. If fear says stop, they stop. If fear says wait, they wait. If fear says hide, they disappear. The Stoic does the opposite. He listens to fear, studies it, and then decides independently. Epictetus was ruthless about this. He taught that fear only has power when you confuse what is in your control with what is not. You cannot control outcomes. You cannot control opinions. You cannot control whether you succeed or fail. But you can control your effort, your intention, your discipline. Fear collapses when it is forced to stay in its proper place. Most fear is not fear of pain. It is fear of exposure, fear of being seen trying, fear of being seen failing, fear of discovering your limits. The Stoics removed this fear by removing attachment to results. They did not measure themselves by success. They measured themselves by integrity of action. Marcus Aurelius wrote that it is possible to live well even in a palace or a prison, because the quality of life is determined internally. This idea is radical. It means your worth does not rise or fall with achievement. And when your worth is stable, fear loses leverage. This is why Stoicism creates emotional independence. You are no longer trading your peace for approval. You are no longer postponing action until conditions feel safe. You act because it is right, not because it is comfortable. Failure in Stoic philosophy is not an identity. It is information. Every failed attempt teaches you something about reality, about yourself, about your preparation. But this only works if you stop interpreting failure as a verdict on your value. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Think about how many times fear stopped you from acting, and how few of those fears actually came true. Fear magnifies uncertainty. Action reduces it. This is why Stoics emphasized practice over theory. You do not become brave by thinking about courage. You become brave by acting while afraid. You do not become calm by understanding calmness. You become calm by training restraint under pressure. This is where discipline enters. Discipline is not harshness. It is clarity. Discipline means you decide in advance how you will behave, so you do not leave decisions to emotion. Emotion is reactive. Discipline is intentional. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they rely on feeling ready. The Stoics never waited to feel ready. They acted in alignment with principle, regardless of mood. This is how inner freedom is built. Inner freedom is not the absence of difficulty. It is the absence of inner chaos. When you are no longer at war with yourself, external challenges lose their power. The Stoics warned strongly against validation seeking. Approval is unstable. Today, it lifts you. Tomorrow, it abandons you. If your confidence depends on external feedback, you are fragile. Acting as if you are the best means relocating your sense of worth inward. You measure yourself by, did I act with discipline? Did I act with integrity? Did I act with courage? Not, did they like me? Not, did I win? Not, did it go perfectly? This shift creates resilience. You become difficult to manipulate, difficult to discourage, difficult to break. This is why Stoicism has survived wars, empires, and centuries. Because it does not promise happiness. It builds strength. And strength creates stability. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can endure. Not because you expect comfort, but because you trust your character. When fear appears now, it does not paralyze you. It sharpens you. You ask, what is required of me here? What would my highest standard do? And then you move, not recklessly, not emotionally, deliberately. If this way of thinking is changing how you see yourself, stop for a moment. This is the kind of philosophy that must be practiced, not admired. If you want to continue this training, subscribe, because the final part goes to the deepest level. In Part 4, we will talk about identity, daily practice, and how Stoics turned discipline into destiny. Everything we've talked about so far, discipline, fear, effort, detachment from outcomes, leads to one final question. Who are you becoming? Because Stoicism is not about tactics. It is about identity. Most people try to change their lives without changing who they believe they are. That is why nothing lasts. The Stoics understood something most modern people ignore. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your character. And character is built daily, quietly, deliberately. Not in dramatic moments, not when everyone is watching, but in the small, repeated choices no one applauds. Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations not to impress others, but to correct himself. That alone tells you everything. Stoicism begins the moment you stop asking, how do I feel about this? And start asking, what does my standard require? Your standard becomes your anchor. When emotions fluctuate, the standard stays. When motivation fades, the standard stays. When life becomes chaotic, the standard stays. This is how you become unbreakable. Not because nothing hurts you, but because nothing controls you. Daily Stoic practice is simple, but not easy. It starts with attention. Attention to your thoughts. Attention to your reactions. Attention to the stories you tell yourself. Every emotion carries a judgment. Every judgment can be examined. The Stoics trained themselves to pause, not to suppress emotion, but to intercept it. Instead of reacting automatically, they asked, is this within my control? Is this necessary? Is this aligned with virtue? This pause is power. Most people live in reaction mode. Stoics live in response mode. Response is chosen. Reaction is automatic. This single distinction separates the disciplined from the defeated. Identity is shaped by repetition. If you repeatedly choose discipline, you become disciplined. If you repeatedly choose avoidance, you become fragile. If you repeatedly choose responsibility, you become strong. Stoicism teaches radical ownership. Not blame, not shame, ownership. You own your actions. You own your mindset. You own your effort. Even when life is unfair, your response is still yours. This is not comforting philosophy. It is empowering philosophy, because it gives you back control, not over the world, but over yourself. And that is the only control that lasts. The Stoics were not emotionless. They were emotionally trained. They felt fear, but acted anyway. They felt grief, but did not collapse. They felt desire, but did not obey it blindly. They mastered inner order. Inner order creates outer stability. When your inner world is disciplined, the external world becomes manageable. Not easy, but manageable. This is why Stoics emphasized evening reflection. At the end of the day, they asked, where did I act with virtue? Where did I fall short? What will I do differently tomorrow? No guilt, no self-hatred, only correction. Improvement without cruelty. Progress without ego. This is how character compounds, and over time, something changes. You stop needing motivation. You stop chasing validation. You stop waiting for permission. You move with quiet certainty. You become someone who can be relied upon, by others and by yourself. This is rare. Most people betray their own intentions. Stoics keep promises to themselves. That alone separates you. Life will never stop testing you. Loss will come. Pressure will come. Uncertainty will come. Stoicism does not remove these. It prepares you for them. It turns chaos into training, pain into refinement, obstacles into structure. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? You ask, how is this shaping me? That question changes everything, because now, nothing is wasted. Every challenge contributes. Every hardship teaches. Every setback sharpens. You become anti-fragile. Not because you avoid damage, but because you grow from stress. And here is the final truth. A Stoic life is not loud. It does not seek applause. It does not advertise strength. It simply is strong. If this philosophy resonates with you, if something inside you recognizes this path, do not let it stay abstract. Practice it. And if you want to continue this journey, to train the mind, to refine discipline, to build unshakable character, subscribe. Because this channel is not about motivation. It is about transformation. And transformation belongs to those who commit. Stay with us. Practice daily. And become someone life cannot break.